a bite-sized video capsule, which is the way that learning is taking place now more and more. Gabriela managed to say who we are, and at Host Schools, we do hold well-being, equity, and happiness at the center of everything we do. We do know that those are the keys to sustainable change that is future-proof in this transformation in education. So we're happy to share that with you. And next slide, Gabi. Oh, and this is us, and you all know us quite well by now.
Move really quickly. Okay. So this is the structure of what we're going to do today. We're going to begin with a small group discussion, and then we'll hear from Gabi and from Dina, who have prepared this beautiful concepts surrounding the topic of engagement and autonomy. And we're going to close up with some of the conclusions of this discussion and some questions and answers. Correct? So yes. We are going to try this. We never know if technology will back us up or not, but we'll try. So we're going to go, I'm going to ask you to go on Nearpod and use this code that we have there. So just, you know, put up a tab, type in nearpod.com, and then introduce this, oh my gosh, this code, which is UJY7C, and you will see this, this board, which we call a collaborative board, where we have the connection. We want to create connections between these four concepts, which is autonomy, engagement, leadership, and wellness. So while thinking about these four concepts, we want you to think, are there connections? And if so, what are they? You know, how are they interrelated, all these four ideas? And just, you know, you can, of course, you can always use an image. I'm a very visual person, so an image always speaks more for me, but you can do it with words. Just type in the connections that you feel that there are between these four things, and hopefully we will see the comments of everyone else, and we can draw connections among those. So give it a try. Has anyone, tell me if you struggle. Okay, so there are the comments, and as I said, as we go along, you can add any more as you make connections between what we are being presented with, you know, and at the end, we're gonna come back and just recheck them, okay? So this is what so far some of you have shared, all right? So let's just look at them really quickly, and then we're gonna go over and begin with the presentation, and we'll begin with Dina.
And then we can just move on. I wanna welcome Erika. Erika Servin has just joined us. Welcome, Erika. We're happy to have you. You joined at the right time for sharing and listening now to our powerhouse school leaders. I'm so happy and honored to have Dina Bakshijian, head of school of Colegio Hebreo Sefaradi. She will guide us today into exploring from her experience and perspective and life experience in the field, her perception of autonomy. I leave you with Dina. Dina, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very, very happy to have this opportunity to share a little bit of my experience throughout many years as a leader in different environments. Autonomy is a big word, and it's very ambitious, because since we're born, we depend on others to develop, to grow, even to eat, to meet our basic needs. And it is very important that we acknowledge that we as humans are the ones that most depend on each other, because we're social. And this is a key note to pay attention in how we develop autonomy and our responsibility towards others to develop autonomy. Because since we're born, we are attached, and we are in a way mentally and unconsciously depending on others. So as you can see this image, what does this image reflect? Can you write in any idea that comes to your mind when you see this child touching the water? What does this mean to you? Thinking about autonomy, thinking about us as adults. If somebody wants to express. For me,
I would like to say something. I love your introduction. By the way, I don't know if people read in Dina's mini bio, but Dina is an expert for many, many years in the very early years, at the very tender age when children first join school experience. And she has worked so intimately in this concept from the very first stage of schooling that I am always in awe, because I find it that the hardest and the most precious time when we really create and leave a footprint in the child. And I love that she's starting with this picture. To me, it brings to mind the concept of the attachment you were mentioning earlier. We're attached from the womb by the umbilical cord, and one of the hardest things is there is such a thing as cutting the cord as children get older. There's a reference to that because it's the one that's nurtured us since we are first conceived. So this image to me it brings that to mind, how we want to let go, yet we want to protect and take care, and there's a fine balance between those, and that to me exemplifies the development of autonomy, that we have to consciously be working towards that. Thank you, Dina, for this thought-provoking image. I simply think it says so much.
thank you, Andrea. Yes, you're right. I think that the early stage is one of the most important in our lives, because it's when we experience all our frustration, when we experience the need to start solving problems, when we depend on emotionally on others to guide us, but at the same time we're very unique, and it is very important that adults see children as unique and capable to do things. Sometimes it is very obvious that as educators or as adults, parents, we're holding back. We are afraid to let go. And that is why this image represents so much to me, because it's the parent holding, like accompanying, but not interrupting the process. The child wants to investigate, wants to touch. Students learn through their senses. So students are always, and children at this age, at the early stage, are always experimenting. And we as adults need to provide these spaces for them to get involved with their environment and be able to recognize what surrounds them and what helps them grow. So this is our first steps to autonomy. Not by ourselves completely, just having a hand, holding hand, and having the lead to be able to discover life. So this is what this image represents for me. Okay, the next, please. As you can see, this is a child experimenting through her senses. This image comes from the theory of Reggio Emilia, where students and children consider citizens of the world since the day they're born. This is very interesting because sometimes we are recognized as adults at the age of 18, but a child is born and is a person since day one, and is responsible as well as accountable of the things that he experiments or she experiments. So the early years are very egocentric. The child is always discovering, trying to find out the environment and learning through their senses. And they feel that they don't identify themselves as one until the age of 3 to 4. They consider themselves part of their own mother or the adult that's taking care of them. But at the end, when they discover and they observe through observation and through listening that others refer to what is correct and not correct for their own safety, they discover the word no. And when a child starts using the word no, that gives them the power, that's why here we say empowerment, to decide, to start deciding what they want to do, what they want to eat, how they want to dress. So autonomy starts when a child recognizes himself as an individual. And this starts around age 3. What happens for us as adults or educators that we conflict with the word no. We don't accept the child to say no. We get even angry when the child says no. And it is very important that we're always modeling this word. This is one of the words that we say constantly. Don't do this. No, you can't eat. No, you can't stay at night. No, you can't. So when we're aware that words have an impact, that how we say things is the way that a child is going to discover the world and accept what is good or not as good for them, is when we realize that we are responsible of creating this environment for them. So no is a very, very powerful word. Now, when a child starts their first experience at home, socializing maybe with a sibling or even with a cousin, usually adults are the ones that start like influencing in the idea of sharing, waiting for their turn, expecting them to understand the limits. And I ask myself and I ask you, when you invite a friend over to your home, do you share everything that you have? Do you share, you open your closet and you say, oh, you can use all my clothes, or oh, you can take my books, or you can use my makeup. I mean, as an adult, we're responsible of modeling what we expect students or children to do. So when you ask a child or you instruct a child to share with a friend, that's the first step to socializing. And they say, no, I don't want to share my toys. I don't want to share. That's autonomy. It's another step to autonomy, recognizing that they have a word, that they have a voice, that they can say and decide what is at that point what they want to do. There's strategies that we can share of how to embrace sharing, like anticipating and creating a space where a child can choose the toy that he or she would like to share. So here comes another important word, anticipating. Anticipating is creating a space for autonomy. Also, anticipating helps the child decide and be accountable of what the decisions that he or she makes. So yes, home is the first social experience. And what happens when the child arrives to school? For me, a child that enters to an early childhood center is a place like if it was a small world where interaction takes place and where always, and I can say always parents, when I ask them, what would you like your child to learn, or what are your expectations, your school expectations? And the parents always say, I want my child to be happy. So at that point, I realized that parents responsibilize the school for the happiness of their child. And it is not the school's responsibility to create that environment. We enhance well-being, we enhance learning experiences, but also we promote and provoke situations that invite students to experience frustration. Because if we do not experience frustration, we cannot recognize our own challenges and our way to autonomy. So it is very important to consider the influence that we have as adults and how we model what we expect students and children to do throughout their lives, considering autonomy. Next. These are like some phrases that empower students, children. I decide. In our lives, we always have options. Every day, every single day, we wake up and we have to decide what to do. Either one thing or the other. Should I have this for breakfast or another thing for breakfast? And usually what I see in parents is that they decide for them what the child would like to eat, instead of promoting two options or providing two options. We usually decide for them. So when a student starts saying no, at that point, we invite as well to be accountable of what they're deciding to do, and make that obvious. Make a little bit of negotiations, or in a way make them realize that what they decide to do has a consequence. I want. This has to do with feelings. This has to do with what the child desires. It's the construction of emotional intelligence. I want this for myself. So these are keywords that I introduced since the early stage, and it starts with the I, because we're talking about the concept of self. I can is being self-aware of what we're capable of doing. This has to do specifically with the strengths that humans have. Positive psychology mentions that every person has 24 strengths, and that we are responsible of put them into practice. Some of us have some strengths more awakened than others. So the intention is that we recognize what it comes easier for us, what flowers in a much more easier way. So I can is a very powerful word that can prove to ourselves that the child is ready to experience. And sometimes we want to solve for them. Instead of letting them experience, I can do it. No, let me show you. Let me show you. Let me do this for you. So until what point are we ready to let go as adults? And self-concept, which is defined with I am, which is the most powerful expression that a person can express. I am. And usually I am, through years, education has taught us that I am means what we're going to do in our lives. And it is very important to develop first who is the person. So we can go to the next image. And I think that being aware of character education, which develops through the emotional intelligence, and sharing and combining academics, can integrate the whole child in itself. And as it says here, a child can teach an adult three things: to be happy for no reason, to always be curious, and to fight tirelessly for something. And usually, now that we're experiencing this situation, this crisis, or this moment of change, children are asking for something different. And maybe we're not ready to give them this new approach to education. And curiosity and creativity are two important elements that we need to consider in our daily educational system. The next, please. This is something that I would like to emphasize. Every time that I hear somebody ask a question, what are you going to do when you grow up? Or who are you going to be when you grow up? Usually it's an expression that we always say, ¿qué vas a hacer de grande? ¿Qué vas a hacer de grande? In English is, what are you going to be when you grow up? And we are as persons since the day we are born. We are persons, but what we do does not define who we are. It can in a way add to what we are, but it is not specifically what defines us as person. So I love this Charlie Brown image where he's asking, what would you like to be when you grow up? And the answer is furiously happy. So I guess this is very, very intense because we usually can answer, I would like to be an engineer, I would like to be a football player, I would like to be whatever. But the intention here is to recognize that we are persons since day one, and what we do does not define who we are. And if we teach this since day one, yes, and we do realize that children can have a self-concept since they start identifying the word no, I think that we're in the right track to enhance autonomy. But if we allow ourselves to define person through what they do, then where do we leave the person? This is a question that I ask myself all the time when I hear my teachers express, what would you like to be? Or instead of, what would you like to study? No? So please, the next. And here is a great image where the student or the child is looking at himself and saying, I am a handsome guy. I am an intelligent person. I am a boy with blue eyes and blonde hair, and defining himself as a happy person, as a joyful person, or even as a confused person at this point. But to be able to define ourselves as unique and as oneself will allow us to meet other challenges in life and have a healthy concept of ourselves. How can we embrace autonomy as adults if we do not work towards it since we are children? How can we decide as leaders? How can we embrace the challenges of leadership if we do not know who we are? How can we differentiate between what we do and what we are? I do not mention myself. I am the school principal or the head of school. No, I practice. I collaborate, but I define myself as Dina. And that way, I put myself first as a person. And that makes it for me much more human than establishing connections through my job or my position. As you can see in this image, we have a bulb, because usually as leaders, yes, we are always using our brains to connect and to provide and to comply with different expectations. And these are some of the expectations that we are held accountable as leaders: to be proactive, to get organized, to be flexible, to feel in control, to get connected, to be socially competent, to be able to solve problems, to create a personal vision. These are different expectations that I encounter every time that I assume a position as a leader. And it seems very easy to say, but very difficult to accomplish, because a leader is expected to do this on its own. And reality tells us that we cannot do this on our own. The next, please. Leadership for me has been a great challenge. I don't know what happens, but when I decide to move from one institution to another, I've had the opportunity to have what everybody yearns to have: autonomy. Make decisions on my own. But I have discovered that the more autonomy I have, the greater responsibility. It's very easy, not very, but sometimes it's easier for others to decide for us. And having this autonomy specifically makes myself much more responsible of what I decide as a leader. Now I've been working towards knowing how to say no. This is honestly one of my big challenges in life. Usually for me, it has been easier to say yes to everything, no, as a leader or to anybody that I encounter. Knowing how to say no really requires balance and thinking as the whole picture, not looking just towards, not the tree, looking at the whole forest, to be able to earn accountability. So knowing how to say no is one of my biggest challenges. And then service is what puts my leadership in first place, because I consider that a leader's responsibility is to serve others, to care for others, to change and experience different points of view, and to be able to establish a very solid platform where everybody can combine their own talents and strengths to serve each other. And teamwork. I see teamwork not as everybody having a task, but co-creating, being able to experiment their own talents and thinking out of the box. For me, that is teamwork, more than implying that each of us has a responsibility. Co-creating is much more challenging, it's much more inviting. And I think that teamwork works for me when my team decides, and going back to autonomy, willingly to what they're going to get involved and to be accountable of. Willingness is one of the most important tools that I use through my leadership, because it's a way of recognizing the strengths, the talents of the people that surround my leadership. Okay. The next, please. This image is very strong, and I wanted to share it with you because I have discovered throughout this experience that I've had as a leader for the past 35 years that this is a very lonesome position. Autonomy also has to do with knowing to be on our own. And sometimes I feel very lonely, and I really don't enjoy this feeling very much. Sometimes I need it to think and rethink and decide. But it is true that when you are at the top, being accountable and responsible, sometimes it's tough to feel that you can't comply with everything or with everybody, and it's a sense of loneliness that comes to my mind in my position. And sometimes I get really tired, to be honest. Sometimes I feel that I want to, run away. And sometimes I think, oh, I'm question myself if I'm in the right position, or if I'm doing really what I really enjoy, if it's my passion. And it's okay to stop for a moment and question ourselves. Are we really enjoying what we're doing? Burnout is something that I have experienced through my life. I've been sick for many, many years because I am that type of person that wants things to be done and to get done. And to find that balance between doing what's expected and finding ways to be creative and also serving, it's one of the greatest challenges that we have as leaders. So it's good to make a stop and say, how long? How long am I going to last experiencing this unique profession, which is such an empowering and beautiful way of transforming and forming human beings. We can go on to the next. That's what I was saying about where can we find this balance, between work and life. And self-care comes to my mind. How do I take care of myself? How do I really dedicate some time during my day to do something that I really enjoy, even though I think that what I do is something that I love, but still I get overwhelmed, and self-care has given me the chance to experience what positive psychology talks about, the flow moment, the experience. And I do this by giving myself time through exercise. I swim, I practice yoga, I like to share with intimate friends, I enjoy my family, I give time to myself, I listen to music, and I decide, again, autonomy, I decide at least half an hour a day to give something to myself. So self-care is something that I know Gabby is going to continue talking about. The next, please. Through mindfulness and through positive psychology, I've discovered that retraining my mind to what's important has given me the chance to enjoy what I do, and giving me the space to feel autonomy, and to discover that autonomy is also part of the bright light of leadership. But it is very important to listen to myself. So intuition has been my nearest companion. Yes, when I am concerned, when I have something to really salud, I have something to really, put attention to. I listen to myself. I concentrate, and I think one of my best strategies is thoughtful thinking. It's not only to think what is best, is thinking thoughtfully what is best. And that implies retraining our mind to see things from different opticals, to see it through different lens, and be able to step ourselves in different positions to be able to decide what's best for our environment. And myself, talking about autonomy, well, this is something that we need to do on our own. Yes, it's not, nobody can retrain our brains. Nobody can touch that part. It is ourselves, through our intuition and through centering our mind to what makes us feel that is best for others. And the next one, I consider that a successful leader is measured by inspiring others to do their tasks without his or her presence when things roll and fall into place. I consider that my position, whenever I have achieved autonomy, is because everybody around me who surrounds me and helps me and connects with my leadership does and knows what to do. And if I take a vacation, things roll into place without the need of having me around. And it happens that sometimes when I come to this point, and it has happened in my 3 last jobs, when I've earned this type of leadership, I decide to move on and start all over again. So I don't know why, but at this point, I've been the last 3 months discovering this new position in this new school, Colegio Hebreo Sefaradí, and I asked myself, why start all over again if I had it all set, you know? So it's part of my personality. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed some of my sharing.
Very, very much, Dina, and you will see a flood of responses, comments, and messages in the Nearpod afterwards. It's really hard to not interact with you because everything you're saying is so thought-provoking. I'm sure that other leaders empathize with so many of the things and would like to have an exchange. So let's move on to our next powerhouse leader, Gabby May, all the way from Monterrey, from the Colegios Madison group. And thanks again, Dina. We'll continue with Gabby, and so that way we can have time to discuss a little bit at the end. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I see thumbs up. Woo! This has been an exciting morning, learning from the early childhood and leadership and autonomy. Thanks again, Dina. And now we give you Miss Gabby May, a master in global IB education, head of Instituto Anglo-Británico, member of the board of Madison School Groups, and she has so much experience to share with us in education, also being a mother of 4. Welcome, Gabby. We're so happy to have you today.
Morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here, first of all. My topic is more about engagement and wellness, and I would like to start talking about how leaders should be paying attention to the school community. And in order to do that, we have to be well-rounded, and we have to be good leaders, and we have to promote wellness within ourselves. Focusing on the community right now, I think is the most important thing, and to have coherence between values and actions, because we need to create a trusting environment in order for the community to engage and to build a community in different areas. So this is a school community, and I think we all have these elements: teachers, administrators, board or leadership, students, parents. And in order to create a school community that is promoting wellness and engagement, we have to consider all elements here. Next one, please. In our school, we try to consider principles about engagement, wellness, leadership, and vision for the whole community, not just for some of them. At this time where we're working online and students are not at the school, and we had teachers outside of the school also, we had to rethink about how to promote these principles within the school community, and we're going to start talking about it in a minute. Can we move forward, Abby? Thank you. Everyday connotations of engagement refer to involvement, commitment, passion, enthusiasm, absorption, focus, effort, zeal, dedication, and energy. I like this idea because it talks about engagement as a shared vision for the community. If we do not share engagement as a community, we're not going to be able to be successful within it. Our schools used to be a guide for parents. We used to set the principles. We used to set the rules and regulations for the school, discipline. And we used to tell them what to do and what not to do. Nowadays, I think that we have to listen more to parents, to students. We have to pay attention on what their needs are and reconsider our focus as a school, more like a guide that constructs with them instead of being the ones that are just telling them what to do and what not to do. Here we go. And it's also talking about emotional involvement and commitment. So these two things are about engagement, again, autonomy, and feelings. And so what we're going for is talking about feelings and knowledge together as what we want to build as a schools within our community. We want all actors of the school to be part of a long-term relationship. As parents coming to the school, they are deciding the education that they want for the kids. So for them, it's a long-term relationship. Students are coming into a place where they feel secure, where they feel well received, where they build relationships, friendship, they have teachers, they have guidance. So I think that we want this relationship to be a long-term relationship. We want to build commitment with the parents and with the students and with the teachers in order to promote this kind of relationship with them. Our teachers, we really want them to be engaged with the school. This is like a work environment definition about an engaged community. But if we talk about the school or a business, we need to promote wellness in order to create an engaged community. We have to have our elements, our teachers, parents, and students being well and having a wellness program in order for them to engage with the community and engage with being a better environment. So what we would like to focus on is on creating a wellness program, but well created, planned, and directed for all the elements of the community. We do not want just to promote wellness just like in a creative way, but that is not planned. So wellness, we think that is going to promote engagement, and engagement is going to promote wellness within our community. So we have that two-way street that could create or should create a successful environment for education and for wellness and for engagement. So this is what we're looking for as a school. I love the picture, Gabby. Thank you for that one. As leaders, I think that our biggest challenge is to create a balance between mission, philosophy, practice, policies, and the alliances that we want to bring into our schools. Again, what I said at the beginning, we have to be coherent with our values and the actions that we're doing. And I like what Dean said about the loneliness of this job, of being a leader. I think that our challenge is more about learning new ways to share what we're doing in our jobs in order to be connected with more people and try to stay away from that loneliness. So I think that sometimes we do have to take decisions that are very lonely, like firing someone or getting rid of a program or something. But most of the time we can be connected and engaged with our community in order to have decisions that are more well-rounded and more community-based decisions. And sometimes we're not used to that, and sometimes it's not easy because we think or we know what's best for everyone. So the process of convincing the community of what's best for everyone is a hard one also, okay? So it's sometimes we know what we need to do, and the way we do it, the way we implement it is what's going to define our leadership within the school or the community. So it's the balance, and it's moving around a little bit right now. So we can decide, for example, if I want to have the IBO or if I want to be authorized by whole schools. Those things, the alliances that I want to create within my school have to be coherent with the values. And the actions that I have within my school have to be coherent with the alliances. Same thing with practices and policies. Again, we need as leaders to look for ways to engage with the community, to share with the community, and sometimes to convince the community of what's best for all of us. Because we have probably more experience and we can do that, but we have to do it in a nice way. We would say, usando la mano izquierda, you know, like not being straightforward, but maybe just disguise a little bit what we're trying to do. So actually have them committed and engaged in change in the ways that the school and the community needs it. Next one, please. The new trends in education are talking a lot about agency and socio-emotional education. And I find these two things. Agency is very related to autonomy, which is what Dina was talking about before. And it's like the possibility of using knowledge in real life. So it's applying knowledge. And we want our students to do that, but we also want our teachers and our parents to do that. So we do not want to have conferences with parents where they learn something and they do nothing about it. So agency is a new trend in education for students, but we want it to go community-wide and not just for the kids. And social-emotional education has a lot to do with wellness. It's about concepts, it's about values, it's about attitudes, it's about skills. You're probably very familiar with it. And it is about wellness. So I like to link these two concepts and see or talk a little bit about how making my own decisions and using my knowledge in my real life is going to make me a better person. It's going to make me feel better about myself. Can we go? So I like this slide because when we talk about education, and a lot of us are very familiarized with constructivist education, and we want to promote these concepts in our students. We really want them to be there, self-awareness, self-regulation. We want autonomy, self-care. We want active learning. So I think that we're looking for right now at this point more than just knowledge. We want them to be feeling good about themselves besides knowledge. So what we're coming to is that education right now is needing emotional intelligence, and we need to be creative in the way to promote it and plan for that. Can we move? And nowadays, feelings are becoming very important. We receive parents in our schools and we ask them what they want. And a lot of parents tell us that what they want is they want their kids to be happy. And then we just sit there and we're just like, okay, fine. And but they want excellence in academics, and they want English, and they want, like the best results in mathematics. But the key thing is that they want their kids to be happy. If a student is going to be with us 9 hours or 8 hours a day, we want our students to be happy. We want them to enjoy the environment that they have within the school. So feelings and happiness are becoming more important every day to our parents, which in a way, they're our clients. And if we know that we want well-rounded students, we know that we have to pay attention to feelings and to happiness with them also. So what we find is that normally we're talking about a combination of being happy, not just being happy, but recognizing our feelings and then knowledge. We have to promote these two things and make a balance within them. We used to plan about academics, we used to plan about programs and content, and we do this very good because we have a lot of experience in here and we've done it forever. But this other area about feelings and happiness, we normally do it just like as a common sense thing, you know, like as an instinct, as Dina was saying. It was just something that we just had and we promoted it. And right now the idea is to actually get together and try to plan for content and learn and start planning for the other areas so we can have a good combination and a good balance for our community. And this is just a quote that I really liked, that we have two minds, the one that thinks and the one that feels, and it's what we were talking about. So I think that if we recognize these two things, we can actually become better leaders and we can have a better community at the schools. I like these elements of wellness because they relate a lot to the emotional intelligence. All these elements of wellness, we used to see them in a different way before the coronavirus and the pandemic. And this new reality or this thing, what we're living right now is it's moving all these elements around. So what we're trying to do is how to deal with this and how to promote wellness within what we have right now. Can we move on, Gabby? So we need new ways of achieving wellness within the community. We have limitations in social contact. We have mobility that we're not able to move that much. We're not able to have contact with people the ways we used to do it and we like to. And the ways we knew how to do it. That was the real conflict, that we knew how to have social contact and then we cannot do it that way. And then we knew how to move and then we cannot do it the way we knew. So we have to start finding new things. We have to be creative because our environment has changed a lot. So creativity and resilience are new basic skills that we have to plan and build on that. And we have to think about this time as a new opportunity for new solutions, for new environments, for new alternatives for our community, and to look at wellness in a different perspective and engagement also. And we all know that new is always scary. So we're not feeling comfortable with changing the way we used to do things. So as planning for wellness, I think that what we need to do is to keep in mind that we have to plan for reflection and comprehension. We have to give time for the community to understand the concept of wellness. We have to develop skills. We used to do it before, but now we have to pay attention to skills with different priorities. And resilience, I think that's going to be one concept that is going to be very important and a target in education. We have to start thinking about the assessment of our schools in different ways. It's not just the TOEFL or the SAT or the Cambridge exam. We used to have that and we still have it and we still need that, but that's academic. So I think we have to start looking at our schools and start assessing our environments, start assessing how secure our students feel, how well our teachers think that they're treated, how do our parents think that we listen to them, and if we're paying attention or not to them. And I think that we have to start looking at excellence with balance. Again, in these two areas, the academics, the content, and then this other area about feelings and the well-rounded person that we want to create within the community. In order for these things to happen, I think that the leader has to be very secure of who he is or she is. They have to know themselves, they have to manage themselves in order to be able to transfer to their community what we want within the community. So as a schools, I'm just going to give you some ideas of what we were doing to create these new environments. This is like a very practical chat. And we knew that the social contact was very important for our students, basically for the babies, because they're 2, 3 years old, 4 years old. And they had these online classes with their teachers that they didn't know, that they've never seen. So for example, in that area, we made a decision on having teachers visit in open spaces their own students for periods of half an hour with all the security things that we needed, but to start making a different social contact with them one-on-one. We also started a homeschool program for our mothers, so we could open the idea for them to actually know, make the plans, the programs, tell them how to teach it, what to do, show them the materials that they could use, and send them the plan for the whole week. So we pulled the mothers together with us in order for them to do the teaching at home, because that's what their decision was, but guided by an expert that knew about content and about how to develop it in a constructivist approach. We also opened up a wellness program for students, and that actually brought us to parents because they called us and said that they were taking the program with their kids and they wanted a program for parents. So this way we had to start planning for wellness and going online with them, with parents and teachers. I mean, with parents and students. We had a big challenge with special needs students, and we also had to open one-on-one sessions with them online. And right now we also have it every 2 weeks at the school with sessions for development and assessment with them. We do have yoga classes now for teachers and for parents, and they're free and they're open. So in order for them to look for new areas and new opportunities to like lose your stress and find wellness. In the programs that we opened, we created small groups for differentiation. So the online teaching is not just the whole group. We have the whole group and then we have small groups. And with that, we're trying to work with the students in different ways with their own different levels. And then we started promoting a sense of belonging. Like this, what happened right here is that the teachers, the parents, and the students were not able to gather together anywhere. So we opened up the school with different areas. Like for example, if you wanted a book from the library, we will get it ready for you. We started getting the notebooks in the school, sanitizing them also. But in order for the kids to get assessment about their notebooks and their process, the reading process and the writing process, that is very crucial when they're like 5 or 6, and giving them back so they could have the assessment from the teacher. And this way, what we started seeing is the happiness of people getting together, not actually getting together, but coming to the school, recognizing what we're doing in order for them to be better and to continue with this process of integrating a community, even though we're not able to be together at all. And actually, I think, and I will be closing with this, is that yes, leaders are it's a very lonely job. And I think it's up to us how we want to share our job and how we want to, how do we balance our work to be part of the community and not just to be the leader, just to be part of it, just to be engaged within the community so we can make better decisions for everyone as we're working as a school leader. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Woohoo! Gabriela May, you filled us with amazing concepts, shift in mindset, a culture of wellness, not just wellness programs, but I really have a feeling that everything that you showcased is this. It's the sense of a new wellness culture emerging, a shift in the mindset of your community, and community existing near or far. It's all about belonging, and you really illustrated that beautifully. Thank you so much for talking to us about engagement from your experience. There's a lot of rich learning to take away from there, and I'd love now to hear in our conclusions, draw conclusions from what everybody was thinking. Just like we do with our kids at the beginning, we allow for some to build on prior knowledge. Is why Gabriela designed the Nearpod experience, to let you give us your thoughts on the concepts of autonomy and engagement and how wellness are connected. So Gabi, do you want to share with us the comments that have been coming in? And
Yes, I am.
we can start from there and then ask people to unmute themselves if they want to expand on their
Yes, please. Actually, I'm going to ask you because you know how technology sometimes conspires against us, but I'm going to ask you if you can, while I'm sharing my screen so you can look at the comments, is that if you like any of them in particular, because there's this possibility where you can, you know, click on a heart if you connect with that thought, or if you see a thought that you want to share a connection with, just go ahead and open up your mic and share it. I'm gonna go very slowly. My kids always bother me because I tend to read really fast, and then I tend to just scroll at my own speed and forget about others. But this is the ones that we started with. So it's important to know if you find any new thoughts after listening to Dina and Gabby and other amazing comments, and you want to connect with these, please go ahead.
I love this one.
who loves what?
It's me. I like this one, the one that says leaders also make or guide students and teachers learn and accept failure. And I think it's very real. We're always talking about how to be successful and how to be good leaders. But failure is part of our jobs, and it happens, and we make mistakes. And it's very interesting, and I think it's a good way of looking at it. Is what we were talking the other day about. Yes, we're going to pursue happiness, but life is not about being happy every day or all the time. It's about recognizing feelings and learning how to deal with them. So I love that.
That comment was by Hitesh. Thank you for acknowledging Hitesh's comment, Gabriela. I fully agree with you. Armando Andrade, our great colleague, he always reminded us at school that a mistake plus a reflection always equals learning. And that's a little bit, I think, in tune with what Hitesh is pointing out. And it not only happens in the classroom, and it's not that we need to allow it, but we need to celebrate it. We need to celebrate making mistakes, because it's from the mistakes that we learn the most, right? And I think what you said right now about feelings and happiness is, we were commenting on the side chat because Dina said something about happiness. Dina said something like, what did you say, Dina? Happiness is a responsibility that is promoted through a balanced self-concept. And going back to happiness and feelings, it's something that can be taught. It can be practiced from a very early age. And you can become really good at it, actually, if we remember that happiness, like resilience and creativity that you talked about, Gabi May, are skills that we can actually learn, be taught, teach, learn, and practice. So thanks.
Andrea, I connect with this comment that Diego wrote about once people feel you care about them, trust them, and believe they can do things better, they will work hard to be true to these high expectations. And I connect with it because we were talking about autonomy and engagement. And it's so hard to really get people to engage, but it's so true that once you convey this idea that you believe in them and that you have these expectations of them, people will be very much committed to meet these expectations. So I think it's true. We cannot lose sight of that.
I also think that following your words, Gabby, when people feel cared and listened to, in our school at this point, we're starting to give voice to our students. We recently had a conversation with Andrea and with one of our students, Batia, where she expressed her feelings towards the experience that she's living during the pandemic days and how she relates to what she's learning at school, very honestly saying that I asked her, what would you do if you were in my position at this point? And what she answered is, I will gear the education towards things that would really help me in life, you know, tools for life.
Well, that's what Gabriela May was saying about agency, and the more you can allow students to apply what they know to real situations, it just makes more for meaningful and authentic learning, right?
Yes, and I think that if we are creative and want to change this, you know, retrain our brain as leaders and be able to see out of and do things out of the box, students are giving us the answers. They are, you know, telling us what they really need, and it is important that we pay attention closely, not, as I said before, if we think we have to have thoughtful thoughts, think carefully what we're going to say and how we're going to address situations in our schools, because what they're learning at this point, especially in my environment, is not really giving them tools to express their well-being, to practice well-being. They are and really I can feel it, I can see it, and I trust and I believe that at the early stages in life when we get frustrated, it's part of growing, you know. And sometimes we're afraid of having students get frustrated, but when they come to another stage in their lives and they continue to get frustrated, that's when we have to start getting worried, because they're not having the tools to solve. They're not being able to become problem solvers. So this is a process that starts at the early stage, and that is parents responsibilize schools for their students and their children's happiness, but it's not, that's not life, you know. We are the ones responsible to give them the environment and the tools to embrace well-being and to experience success. But if they don't experience success, they're not going to feel content with what they're learning. So it's also part of feeling this achievement in education, which in our program right now, and I have to talk honestly about school, we have a lot of things to do and a lot of things to change. And as Gabby was saying, it's difficult as a leader because sometimes there's a lot of resistance. And at this point, I have the honor to be part of this school without being part of the community in itself, being very different. They're respecting diversity, yes, but that's human. That's being part of being human, and I acknowledge that. But there's a lot of resistance, and I'm really coping with this at this point. It's only been 3 months, so I can feel and I can share and comply with everything that's written there, because it's specifically what I'm trying to say.
Diego wanted to say something back to you, Dina. Those are great words.
Thank you, Dina. I can connect with you so much. This is a big thing that I've had with my parents. And when I talk to parents at like admissions and these kinds of events, I talk to them about that link for me between happiness and, because happiness, I mean, I can eat an ice cream or I can eat 20 ice creams. That can make me happy, but I can get indigestion. I can become overweight over time. I can get diabetic. It's not good for me. It's gratification. And I always link it with competence. Like competence is obviously not that every kid is going to be 100, at the 100 level, but that each kid is growing, is having their full development, is getting as much as possible, is getting good results, is feeling good about himself. Like, hey, I'm growing, I can do this, I can get better. And if we develop that sense of competence, I think the happiness will come. I mean,
Exactly,
you feel you're
exactly.
growing.
I agree. But if there's no success, how can you feel happy? I mean, we need to really enjoy and feel confident that we can do it. But students are not feeling that. They're feeling very frustrated. And that comes from the early stage. I'm getting very enthusiastic about this.
No, so
I
I'm
feel
passionate about it as well, Dina, because I've told parents, because for a lot of kids and for a lot of you, with all due respect, I tell parents, with all due respect to you guys, for you, a lot of you making your kids happy is giving them what they want. And that's not life. Life is
no.
frustrations. Life is, and being a good student and doing well in school and growing and having a good development is a bit of sacrifice and is a bit of studying and
Yes.
hard. But we got to make that into something positive. And again, it's not that every kid has got to be the best in math. No, every kid has got to be as good as he can in the different things he has to do. And that we also create those spaces for those kids to be successful. And we have to, as school leaders, that's why I focus on creating those spaces where every kid can feel successful. Even the ones who are not the top in academics, but they at least have the basic competencies to continue to go on their path in school and in their life project that they'll be able to do when they finish school. They'll be able to do whatever that is, whether that be a professional football player, a dancer, an artist, an engineer, a doctor. But I think we have to gently, and your image of the pool, I've used that image before, but I've used a similar image, but the hand is not holding on to the kid's like pants, but the hand is on the kid's back lightly. So if the kid does need it, the parent can grab on. And I've told my parents
Yes.
that we have to be, as the adults for kids, we have to be kind of like the back of a chair. The back of a chair, we don't always use it. Sometimes like now when, where like I'm engaged and I'm talking, I'm not even touching the back of my chair because I don't need it. But when we're tired or when we need to take a step back to reflect, then we can lean back. We always know it's there. We know we're not going to fall back. But that back of that chair and that hand of that parent or that adult should not always be grabbing us and guiding us. Because if we don't let kids take those chances and we don't let kids have the opportunity to be irresponsible, I think they're never going to learn to be responsible. If we don't let kids have those opportunities to let's say to fail at something, then they're not gonna they're not gonna push to experience and put in the effort to be successful at what they want to be. And if I could just add one little thing, because of what you were talking at the beginning, I have found that for me, wellness and engagement with my staff is a lot of it is not done in the wellness programs or the big events. It's done in these one-on-ones where we meet up with somebody in the hallway. When I was a teacher for 15 years, I built my relationships one-on-one during recess, during lunch, during coming into school, leaving school, at the end of the class, in those 2, 3, 5-second, 10, 15-second engagements. And I have found the same thing happens with teachers. I have found that even my best teachers, they're used to people telling them how good they are. And then when I notice something in their classroom, I said, hey, I really like this and this and this, but I noticed that you were doing this, or I noticed this happening. Why are you doing that? Is it working for you? And they tell me, well, not really. Have you thought about doing something else? And I have found that I build that trust with my teachers because sometimes there are things that nobody tells them, nobody assumes. And the same thing happens with our good students. Our good students are so used to everybody just telling them, you're good, you're the best, you got an A, you got an A, you got an A. But they don't have those times to tell them, hey, have you thought about doing this? Maybe you could do this. Or just hearing them and listening to them. Like, how do you think, are you satisfied? Are you happy with how you are as a student? What would you like to do differently? Whatever. But what I'm saying is these conversations, these one-on-ones need to happen. I think that's how you build the strongest engagement. Thank you. Sorry
Thank
for taking
you.
so long.
Thank you, Diego. Yes.
I would like to add that I really agree with you about engaging with the community is not to promote happiness all the time. It's probably just to have a secure environment, a positive environment. It's not always going to be about success because we're not always successful. So I think that engagement and promoting wellness, it's also about frustration and probably just making mistakes a lot of the time, not just sometimes, a lot of the time. I really like what you're saying about working one-on-one with teachers and with students. And I think that as leaders, again, we have the responsibility to become part of our community. And we have different ways of doing it, and we have different personalities and different leadership styles. But if we find the way or one way to get a sense of belonging within our community so they can see us as part of it, I think we're going to start walking into a more engaged community and a better place for everyone.
Gabi, I think that it's awesome that you talk about this place that comes from engagement and building communities, not only through the happy times. I think that more than ever through the pandemic, it's been a great way to capitalize on that feeling of belonging. I mean, you as a community, you pull through thick and thin. You can't expect everything to be awesome all the time. And the schools that are making it through this pandemic, and you would know this, you are a tighter, more knit community that belongs even more, that have supported each other through these rough times. When you come out the other end, I mean, you know that your people are thriving thanks to the commitment, right? Thanks to the continued belief and pulling through together. I think that says so much, the part where we acknowledge our failures as part of the learning lessons that take us to a higher level. And thank you so much for reminding us of that. Both you, Dina, and Gabriela have spoken from your experiences and have exposed such personal and close situations that it actually makes us all connect and feel empathy. I've myself had a great time today. Your laughter, Dina, just fills us with joy. And Gabby, you're just so knowledgeable. Thank you for reminding us of the true qualities of leadership. And Gabby, you wanted to mention something. My Gabby Pacheco, I commented on your slides. They're a work of art. They're impeccable. They drive such the concept, but they're so aesthetically pleasing, and you are so meticulous and caring. I always feel that you care so much for our participants, and for the time they invest, you invest even more. So thanks to you, Gabi. You're amazing, always.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. I just, I think we should, the part about being a community, and this is what we've intended to do with the Leaders Forum, is to have this safe space and this group of people who truly connect and understand with what everyone has been going through the pandemic, and especially in this role that Dina very well said is a very lonely role, and there's so much pressure that we need to handle, and now more than ever, if we want to, as Gabi said, well, just really teach through the crisis, and that's we're just gonna, we always end up with a tiny little reflection, and we have this, and I would add it, not just schools can't become the best places for students to learn and grow unless we make them the best places for teachers to grow, to work and grow, and certainly of the heads of schools. If we as a head of school cannot have that place to recharge and fall in love again with the mission of leading an educational institution, then everyone is going to struggle. So this is what this space is for, and we're going to leave you with a small invitation. We're going to break for winter, and we're going to meet back until January 30th. We have an amazing Leaders Forum prepared, which is going to be called Developing Schools That Help Students Thrive. and it'll be on a Saturday. So we don't get to see each other through this space until then, but we do have now these spaces on our Facebook Lives, which you can either watch Lifetime Mexico or you can watch them recorded later on. And the one that's coming up, we're really excited about. We're inviting Hitesh and his students to have an amazing conversation about learning through sharing globally. So if you want to join us, it'll be Wednesday. We will be showing it at different times. It will be 18 hours Ghana time, and then we'll retransmit at 18 hours Central Standard Time for Mexico. So at whatever time you want to join, it will be there. And we know it will be an exciting conversation. So please join us.
And more than that too, also, you know, you're always welcome to reach out, and we'll do a special edition of you, your school, feature something within your community that you want to enhance or celebrate or validate the efforts that are going on. So it's a really beautiful way to give back to your teachers, to your parents, to your students, and create a spotlight, a feature just about the amazing things that you're doing. So that looks amazing, Gabi. I'm putting it on school leaders right now. So I guess, yeah, we won't see each other till end of January. We wish all of you an amazing break, holidays, and but we'll be live on Ed Talks, so reach out whenever.
Thank you. Thank you for this time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Be good. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Thank you, Mariana, for
Bye to
connecting.
everyone. Bye.
It was so